Hello, welcome to Closing Chapters, Everyday Real Estate Tales. I'm your host, Brittany Fry. I'm a realtor, I'm a military wife, and I'm a mom. Join me and come transaction by transaction throughout my real estate career starting back in 2016 to hear about the highs, the lows, and the unexpected turns along the way through all of my customers. It's going to be a crazy ride, you guys. I am so excited to share the past, the current, and then what's coming in the future. Hang tight for the ride. Join me about being a realtor, a military spouse, and a mom. Can't wait to see you there.
Hey, welcome back. It is time to talk about another one of my favorite home buying couples. These were first-time home buyers. I love working with my first-time home buyers. There's something extra special about the fact that you get to mold and shape their image of what it is to purchase a home and actually hold their hand, walk them step by step through the process, and make sure they are educated and informed, and for them to have the power to make great decisions. I truly believe in educating my clients and giving them the knowledge and the power ahead of time so that when it's time to make decisions, they're not scary or overwhelming and they are ready to go. So, this couple called me about a particular house that they saw in a neighborhood, and we went and checked it out. And after we met and talked and saw the house, I realized that one, this house wasn't the best fit for them. Two, it was a lot smaller than what they were actually looking for. And three, they needed some assistance. They didn't really know what the home buying process looked like. And they hadn't talked to a lender yet, so we had some work to do. So I got them hooked up with a lender. And here's the beauty, you guys. They thought they could go $140,000, $150,000 just because they were first-time home buyers and they had worked really hard to get themselves out of some things. They had talked to somebody once upon a time, had bad information given to them, and so they thought that was kind of like where they were limited at or stuck. So after we talked to the lender, you want to know what they were approved for? $195,000. Yeah, 140,000, 150,000. Anyhow, and that did not bust their budget. So it was very comparable to what they were already paying in rent. So it wasn't that big of a stretch for them to go up a little bit more. And spoiler alert, we didn't have to go to 195,000. So once we had a true idea of what their price point was, what they were looking for, we were able to regroup. I set up a new search and then we started hitting the ground running. Now we had a couple different scheduling conflicts to have to work around. They both worked very different schedules, very different days. She was in retail, so there wasn't like a we're available on nights and weekends. There was no family and friends discount. So, anyhow, we had to kind of work around all of that and schedule it in as we could when we could. And that is totally fine by me. That's what I'm here for. So, once we started looking around, we saw a couple more properties and they just really weren't checking the box. And then this flip came on the market. It was a property that another agent in town had bought and had renovated and was putting it back on the market. It was this really cool brick rancher and it was like U-shaped. So it had like the garage and then a long stretch of like a living space and then a hallway with the bedrooms. And it also had a U-shaped driveway in front of it and it went to the side load garage. So if you know me, you know that I love a U-shaped driveway. I have this great idea in my head that whenever you are having guests over, that they can all park in the U driveway, everybody can get around each other, be able to pull right out. There's no shifting, backing in, backing out, trying to back onto a road. It's just like some euphoric idea for me that a U driveway is the absolute best scenario. So I was pretty tickled pink whenever we pulled in from the get-go, just knowing that I had a U driveway for them. And because of the shape of the house, it kind of like complemented one another. It was really kind of neat. So when we go in the house, there is just like living space amongst living space amongst living space. It was so cool. It was kind of broken up, but very open all at the same time. You went to one side and there was the kitchen, and you kept following it around, and then there was like an eat-in kitchen, and then you kept following it around, and there was like a formal dining room that had like a little bar area in it. And then we had a formal living room, and then your standard living room, and a screened-in patio behind all of that. And behind the screened-in patio was an in-ground pool with a big backyard that was already fenced in. It just kept going and going and going. It was awesome. So then we go down the hallway, and we have the bedrooms. And there's like 4 bedrooms and 2 baths. So the only thing that was really kind of a hard thing to get over with this property is that the bedrooms were not humongous, and the closets in the primary were standard small closets. And Mama needed her space. Reasonably so, right? You work so hard, and that's your one ask is to have a beautiful walk in closet, then you deserve that, right? But she was willing to see past what was right in front of her and find a solution. And I'm so stinking proud of them for doing this. They had a scenario where the primary bedroom was here and there was another small bedroom right behind it. They took that whole small bedroom and just created it into her closet. How awesome is that? Right? It reminds me of our first house in South Carolina. We had a lot of living space and not a lot of bedroom space, and we had small closets as well. So when we lived there, it was pre-kids, and we took the closets out of the other bedrooms and used those as well for our clothes. So we had those for like our seasonal items or our fancy clothes, and so we had all of our clothes dispersed between 4 different closets in our house. So, anyways, I was tickle pink that she was able to find a solution and not let that stop her from getting this fantastic property. So, fantastic as it was, once we moved in, there was quite the hiccup along the way. And this is standard, right? Every time that we buy a new car, we buy a new house, our spouse leaves for work, goes on a deployment for the military, those first couple weeks, you're like in the like red zone, just waiting for the shoe to drop. And this shoe was pretty big, honestly. The drain line for the washing machine was backing up into the house. And how do you know that at a time, right? So we do home inspections, but there wasn't a washing machine in place before we had the home inspection, and there's not something that's like typically checked regardless, even if there was a washing machine in place. The kitchen appliances are like the big thing that we're really checking for. Now, the water heater, sure, we're turning the water, make sure it gets hot and cold, whatever have you, but we don't really mess with the connections or the drains or anything thereof with the washer and dryer. So when they renovated this property, the washer and dryer was already, the laundry room was already in place. They just updated it cosmetically. So they can't see the pipes in the ground to know that there was an issue. And what happened is that there was roots that had grown into the drain line of the washing machine. So whenever they ran the washing machine the first time, all of that water backed up into the house, started flooding the house. Scary, right? Thankfully, the listing agent was amazing. They did the right thing. They immediately got somebody out there to fix it. The home warranty checked in and helped with it. But they were like, I don't know what's going on. Obviously, it was nothing we could, do or help with. But they still made it right and they fixed it immediately for us, even though we had already closed and even though they were already living in the house. So that was such an amazing nicety, and goes to show that whenever you work with good agents and you create a good rapport, that they're willing to help whenever you need them in specific situations. So, all that to say, things are going to happen, and that's okay. We have to let the waves roll and get past it, and then the rest is going to be smooth sailing from there. And it has been. They've had to maintain their pool a little bit, which is standard. Pools don't stay good for forever. You got to put some love into them all the time. But outside of that, they've really not had any issues with the house. So it was a beautiful opportunity to get a virtually cosmetically brand new house on a great solid foundation, a great lot, and a lot of space. That huge driveway, huge backyard. I mean, it was just such a great space. And my friends, this family knows how to entertain, and they entertain a lot. They got nieces and nephews and grandbabies and, their kids. Everybody comes over to their house. Like, they are the family house. And I cannot tell you how much that means to me that we found them a property that was big enough for them to do all of the things they want to do. The original house we were looking at would not have met that need. So I am so stinking proud of them for sticking with me, for trusting me, and for finding their home. Now they purchased this house, let's see, June 28th, 2017, and they are still there to this day. They paid $187,000 for this house. If they sold it today, it would easily sell over $250,000. Easily. You guys, home ownership is generational wealth. If you will buy and hold a property, you are creating this beautiful savings account just waiting for you to tap into it whenever you need it. And for them, they love the property and they plan to be there for a very long time. And they're even trying to get some of their family to move from North Carolina back over to Sumter, South Carolina to be close to them, which I love that. So I just want to let you know that it doesn't matter where you've been or where you think you have to go. You've got to talk to the right people and have a good team on your side. I want to make sure you know right now, I am very strict about setting our budget, right? So if you tell me, this is what happens a lot with military clients. Military clients get a housing allowance. So if you tell me, hey, Brittany, I don't want my mortgage payment to be more than my housing allowance. Let's say that housing allowance is $1,100, okay? Then I'm going to say to you, that's fine. We're going to work backwards, okay? So when we talk to the lender, we're going to tell the lender, hey, lender, we only want to spend $1,100 on our total mortgage. That's principal and interest and escrow account. And a lot of times this gets left out whenever you're doing the pre-approval part. They'll give you just the principal and interest, which is like a normal car loan, where you take the price of the house, add in the interest, and then there's your payment. Well, that's not all there is for a mortgage payment. The escrow account gets added onto that too, which is for your taxes and insurance. And it's like a little savings account that they add to each month. And then your lender pays your taxes and insurance every year thereafter. And it's because they have a great liability on your property. If they don't make sure you have homeowners insurance on that property and that house burns down to the ground, how are they getting paid back for that loan? If you don't pay your taxes and a tax lien is put on that property, how are they getting paid back for that loan? Right? So these are checks and balances put in place. But the thing that gets missed is that that doesn't get added into the initial estimate whenever you're getting a pre-approval, so to speak, a lot of times. So they'll say, oh yeah, you can spend up to, $200,000 and your payment will be $1,100 a month. When in reality it's going to be $1,450 once you add that escrow payment in there. So we're going to go to lender and say, hey lender, escrow payment included, we need to be at $1,100 a month. And by doing this, we're going to make sure that we know the top price we can spend and keep you in your total budget all around. And this is super, super important whenever you're working on a fixed budget. But the same goes for the flip side. I'm also not going to allow you to limit yourself unnecessarily. If you tell me, hey, Brittany, my rent right now is $1,550 a month, and that's what I'm used to paying. As long as the mortgage is around that, give or take, then I'm going to be okay. I talked to this person, 3 years ago. They told me my credit was too bad and that I probably wouldn't be able to get approved for more than blah, 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 blah. So we didn't buy then. We've been paying off some stuff, but we don't really know where we sit now. Great. Let's play ball. Okay? That's when we're going to go to the lender and say, hey, lender, this is what we're thinking. This is around the payment that we're paying right now. They've kind of been told this in the past. We need to get a fresh set of eyes. We need to know from A to Z what we're looking like. And a lot of times it's a much different perspective than what you think. I also want to remind you, different lenders, different companies have different programs, right? Sometimes when you go to these online box stores, so to speak, they have a very set list of guidelines. And if you don't just check that box just right, then you fall into very different categories for them. And it might be because they're taking a lot more risk to take on, different types of clients or whatever the case may be. But every lender will have different products that they can offer and the range of capabilities that they have in terms of how much, they need to see in your bank account, what your credit's going to be, debt to income ratio, anything thereof. So it's really important that you talk to a lender have a customized experience just for you. So in this case, like I said, we were actually able to up our price point quite a bit, got them a much bigger house than they thought that they were going to be able to get to, and they've been able to stay there because it fit their needs. So it was a beautiful story all the way around. And like I said, I still stay in touch with them to this day, and I love that. So remember, you take care of your people from the beginning, educate them, help them. They will come back to you, they will refer you, and they will stay in touch with you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so happy for these folks, and I cannot wait to visit you
Talk to
again
you soon.
very soon in Sumter, South Carolina.